Okay, and I am back with episode 4 of rating movies. And I am really, really excited to get into this. I don't have a whole lot more to go because it's basically the part 2 to the previous video. I'd watched a lot of movies within the month of February 2021, and the video was starting to become a little too long, so I'm split it into a separate episode, and it probably will not be as long, but I don't know, I guess we'll see. The first movie I'm going to start with is American Ultra. I do not know why I did not write down the director. I did that on so many others and then forgot on a few for some reason. Oh, wow, okay. I'll try to pronounce that. The director is Nima Nurizadeh. And it is about a stoner who is in fact a government agent, is marked as a liability and targeted for extermination, but he is too well trained and too high for them to handle. The comedy and the action is absolutely top tier, and the relationship between Mike and Phoebe is beautiful. The chemistry is absolutely so strong. I loved the rest of the characters, and I don't know, it was just such a cute movie and creative. Never thought you could kill somebody with a spoon, but here we are. I think Mike stole the show for me, and the cast is Jesse Eisenberg as Mike, Kristen Stewart as Phoebe, Connie Britton as Victoria Lassiter, John Leguizamo as Rose, Topher Grace as Yates, Tony Hale as Petey, Bill Pullman as Kruger, and Walton Goggins as Laughter, whatever. I gave American Ultra a 10 out of 10. I think I would give it a 11 out of 10 if I could. I love this movie a lot. It made me laugh. Definitely shipped Mike and Phoebe. It's just good stuff. Go watch it if you haven't. The next movie is The Prestige, directed by Christopher Nolan. And after a tragic accident, two stage magicians in 1890s London engage in a battle to create the ultimate illusion while sacrificing everything they have to outwit each other. The movie had such a great pace, and it kept me glued to the screen completely. I was dedicated to the very end. The plot twists are very well done, and Alfred and Robert equally stole the show for me. It stars Christian Bale as Alfred Borden, Hugh Jackman as Robert Angier, Scarlett Johansson as Olivia, Michael Caine as Cutler, Piper Perabo as Julia, Rebecca Hall as Sarah, David Bowie as Tesla, Andy Serkis as Allie. I gave The Prestige a 10 out of 10. This movie was fantastic. It was just, it's a little long and can be a little confusing in parts, but if you just hold on and you watch it to the very end, everything gets explained. And it's just like, it's so intricate. Of course it would be, they're magicians, but definitely a favorite. I loved The Prestige a lot. The next movie I watched is called Breaking for Wales. It is directed by Sean McEwen. A dysfunctional brother and sister are brought together and forced to come to terms with each other and themselves over their recently deceased mother's final wish. It stars Tom Felton as Brandon, Tammin Sursok as Star, David Koechler as Randall, Wendy McClendon Covey as Jackie, and Austin Swift as JT. I love Tom Felton, okay? Everybody just knows Tom Felton is not Draco Malfoy. Completely different people just because he plays Draco. He's just such a kind, beautiful soul. If you go to, I don't know if his TikTok is still up, but he had TikTok, and he also makes a lot of music. So Tom Felton is definitely a force to be reckoned with, but I just didn't vibe with this one, and it didn't keep me intrigued and was slow paced. I really don't think anyone stole the show for me either, even though Star was kind of just she definitely stole all the attention, I'll give her that, but I don't know, it didn't do it for me, and I gave it a 5.5 out of 10. But if you love Tom Felton, give it a shot. You never know, you might think differently. That yet. The next movie I watched was Superintelligence, directed by Ben Falcone, of course. It stars Melissa McCarthy as Carol, James Corden as Superintelligence, Bobby Cannavale as George, Brian Tyree Henry as Dennis. When an all-powerful superintelligence chooses to study average Carol Peters, the fate of the world hangs in the balance as the AI decides to enslave, save, or destroy humanity. It's up to Carol to prove that people are worth saving. This one was very cute, and it kept me entertained. Definitely not Melissa's best, but definitely not her worst. But I think, personally, George stole the show because he was just the sweetest, purest character, and he was behind Carol 24/7. I mean, he loves Carol, and it's very evident how much George loves Carol, and that's why I love George. But I gave Superintelligence a 7 out of 10. The next movie I watched is The Mexican. It is directed by Gore Verbinski. A man tries to transport an ancient gun called the Mexican, believed to carry a curse, back across the border, while his girlfriend pressures him to give up his criminal ways. It stars Brad Pitt as Jerry, Julia Roberts as Samantha, James Gandolfini as Winston, and J.K. Simmons as Ted. I love the story behind the gun. That was one of my most favorite parts. And whenever they actually get to the part where they tell the story about the gun and the dramatization of it, it definitely sits in your heart, and you're kind of just like, okay, I definitely see the importance of the gun now. And the characters were very interesting. One in particular stole my heart. I think Winston stole the show, and for me, he was one of my most favorite parts of the movie. Definitely, Winston. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Definitely would watch this one again. The next movie I watched was Gemini Man, and it was directed by Ang Lee. An over-the-hill hitman faces out against a younger clone of himself. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this movie. I liked the plot, the storytelling, and the action. It doesn't have a very high rating on IMDb, but definitely give it a shot because I thought it was definitely worth the watch. Will Smith as Henry / Jr., Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Danny, Clive Owen as Clay, and Benedict Wong as Baron. Danny stole the show for me just because I've crushed on her for years. I have had a big crush on Mary Elizabeth Winstead for a while. But I mean, who hasn't? Especially whenever you watch Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. The next movie I watched is The Little Hours. It is directed by Jeff Baena. In the Middle Ages, a young servant fleeing from his master takes refuge at a convent full of emotionally unstable nuns. Introduced as a deaf man, he must fight to hold his cover as the nuns try to resist temptation. It stars Alison Brie as Alessandra, Dave Franco as Macedo, Kate Micucci as Generva, Aubrey Plaza as Fernanda, John C. Reilly as Father Tommaso, Molly Shannon as Sister Maria, Fred Armisen as Bishop Bartholomew, Jemima Kirk as Marta, and Nick Offerman as Bruno. I was kind of let down because the cast was what pulled me in. It was definitely a strange movie. Feels like it should be a little indie. Probably is a little indie, but I don't know. That cast is amazing. Like, I love John C. Reilly. I love Fred Armisen. Love Aubrey Plaza. Love Molly Shannon. You know, a great, great cast. It's just, you know, it was funny in parts, but it definitely flew under the radar for me the rest of the way. And I gave it a 6 out of 10. So that was part 2 to the second episode, but I'm going to call it episode 3. Anyway. And I hope you guys come back for the next one, because I have a whole lot of really, really good ones. A lot of 10 out of 10s. This was a great month for movies. March 2021. Thank you for watching, and come back for episode 4.